Hi folks, this is just a brief tutorial on how to link a photograph of a learner's ID book and or indeed birth certificate in the absence of an ID book. You'll see if I click on this learner here on ID photograph, what I've done is I have a folder location which you'd probably have, advisably have on your server, a shared folder that anyone who has access to FrontOFFICE and who needs access to this particular feature has access to this pathway on their computer, or access to the shared drive. In my case, it's obviously just run locally, so I've put it in my CISOF folder. There is a pathway in my CISOF folder called ID Photo, and the admin number of that learner.jpg, right? The same way that you save photographs, except obviously these are photos of the ID book in a different folder. I'm going to start applying this principle to lots of other things. I'm going to show you how we're going to do it for reports coming up soon as well. It's all in place. So essentially you can see that the pathway here for this particular person is the pathway I've just shown you and the admin number.jpg. Obviously if you're entering the learner excuse me, one by one, you would just come to the learner and do it this way if it was a one-off. If you want to put all the pathways in one shot, so for instance your powers that be, whoever is responsible for taking photos and storing them at the school, have done the job of storing all the photographs as their admin number.jpg in the shared ID photo folder, then yes, you can generate them all in one shot. Like, you use the exact same principle as is outlined in the video manual index in the section actually right at the top as it happens. Adding photo paths in FrontOFFICE, you can do it either directly in FrontOFFICE or by Excel. Excuse me, you use the exact same principle except that you would reference the ID photo. You would copy the path you create into the ID photo path as opposed to the photo path, and obviously the pathway you put in excuse me, would be the ID photo pathway, and I'm going to show you just briefly what I mean. As I say, you can refer to those tutorials for a more in-depth. I'm just going to race through this quickly. So basically, you're going to create a query. See, I clicked on create, then create query. You're going to put the admin table in the main table. Okay, and then you're going to quite simply pop the admin in, and you want the ID photo field. That's where we're going to copy it into. Okay, and what we're going to do here is say we're going to create an alias called ID photo path, which is where we're going to actually create this path. Right click on that and choose zoom so we can see it a bit more easily in a nice wide window. Okay, and then quite simply we're going to hard code the path in, okay, which you do by creating a string, a text if you like, so double inverted commas, quotation marks, and we'll go to this ID photo path. I'm going to quickly grab the ID photo path, Control C. Okay, or you can just type it in. I like to use copy because it ensures no spelling mistakes. So it knows that that's the first part. Actually, what I'm going to do is add a backslash to that, because we're going to say and, right, And now we're going to tell it to use the admin number of the learner. Okay. And then we're going to say and, because it needs to be .jpg. So again, we just hard code that bit in .jpg. Alright. And obviously if you use .png or some other file extension, you would just put in .png over there. Okay, so we can actually click OK and run this query to see how it's come out. Okay, so if we click run, so you can actually see there. So for every learner, it's created a path with their admin number in .jpg. So now the system knows exactly where to find it. And there's your ID photo path field where we want this in. So we simply copy that column, highlight that column, and paste. All right. Now, of course, you can create this ID photo path in Excel as well. Yeah, I prefer to do it in Access because in Excel, so you would copy this column into an Excel document and then create the ID photo path in a similar way where you would say equals cell A1, because that would be an A1. Well, you would say equals inverted commas C isoft da 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 and cell A1. So you do it using pretty much the exact same script that we've just written. But then my issue with that is you copy it from the Excel document and you paste it in here. And look, provided you've kept this in the same order, then that's fine. But if you've looked away from the computer for a moment or bumped the keyboard or done something in the order changes, then you run the risk of putting, you know, someone else's admin number next to this admin. But by doing it this way, it keeps all of its integrity, and you can't really go wrong because you've said just use the admin number that is in the admin number column, right? By referencing that, so it'll always match up. So that is really the safest way of doing it. Okay, and then so that obviously puts your ID photo. You don't have to save this query, okay, because it's you've only done it just to put this straight into the main table. So yeah, you don't have to save this query. So yeah, when you close it and asks you to save, just say no. Right, so that I mean, if you were to go and look in admin records, okay, quite simply, if the learner doesn't have a photograph, you can put these paths in anyway, so that when you do have a photograph, they just show up. So there isn't anything at the moment there, because as I showed you, we only had 2 photos in there. So it skips that and it says, okay, well that's blank, so it doesn't moan about you that it can't find what it's looking for. But of course, as I showed you before, if there does happen to be an ID photograph, it shows up. Okay, that concludes this tutorial.